Well, it's morning time, and it's tradition that I always taste my beer that I kegged the night before. A little sleepy eyes because I need my coffee. I'm holding off drinking my coffee. I don't want my coffee taste in my mouth when I go to put this delicious beverage in my mouth. At least I hope it's delicious. Did a tart cherry saison. Saisons are got a cool little beer history to them. I suggest looking it up. Google the history of saisons. All like beer histories are pretty cool. Pretty much like history in high school sucked. Beer history, I'm like, I'll read a book on beer history. Oh, and not just like a 5-page book with pictures. I like read a book about beer history. The history of saison. That's freaking awesome. So why did you start drinking beer, saison people? Well, I was a farmer and I wanted a beer that was fruity, hydrating, and didn't get me too drunk. Good story. And then Americans are like, why not just take that saison and jack it up to like 8% alcohol? Then you can get torn up on a Friday night and it tastes yummy. And who cares about the rehydration factor of it? So I assumed that back in the day, when the alcohol percentage was a lot lower on the saisons, traditionally they weren't that high. Probably had a sugary taste to it, because of like if you're floating around 2 or 3% or so, 2 to 3%, I would imagine there's a lot of gravity left in that. I'm not going to guess, but I would assume if they were just using bread yeast or something, just to freaking ferment stuff like this, and then used it for hydrating out in the farms, you know, outside, working outside. You can have a beer. Kind of like their Coors Light, It's like Coors Light now. Do some yard work, mow the lawn, drink Coors Light. Bud orange, drop orange juice in the Coors Light. But this is the old version. This is like, Saison. It's kind of like the current day fruit beers. So, I wanted it to finish sweet, but the yeast strains these days will take that alcohol and, give you 8% or so. So I made it pretty high in gravity. I had to take good notes because my original gravity is different than my total gravity, if it makes sense. My original gravity didn't have juice. I added the tart cherry juice. I also added a cup of sugar when I added my rosemary. So there's some stuff I put in here into the secondary that added gravity to it. And I just was like, you know what, forget it. I know what I wanted to go for my final gravity. When I got lost in the gravity world because of adding gravity to it. And what ended up happening is I hit the upper limits of the yeast. And when I got to like 10%, up to like 10.5%, it took me like 2 weeks of secondary to go from 10% alcohol to 10.5% alcohol. And it wasn't getting a lot of movement and action. So I just decided, you know what? I took a sample. It tasted good. Keg it. So that's where I'm at. Kegged it last night. Let's rock and roll. Let's see how this little saison nasty little tart tastes. It's a tart cherry, so we're going to give it a little tart name. So here we go. I'm going to point the camera here towards the old Miller High Life tap. And this is always tough to do with one hand. I'm going to try and get a little bit of a lean into. I like some carbonation head for looks, but I don't want to just send this whole thing rocking. All right, let's see here. I do believe that's what beer is supposed to look like. I think those carbonation bubbles are just looking delicious. Yeah. So it's got a little bit of red, just a slight bit of redness to it. It kind of wants to look like it's got a brownish purplish color to it. The camera's not showing it as well. It's a nice looking head on top. Enough talk. Let's get down to business. Let's see how this little tart tastes. I didn't care if it came out tart. I just wanted that tart cherry to just have a tart cherry taste. All right. Smells good. I can smell some cherry. Well, again, usually with my beers, I dry hop. Pretty much the only thing I don't dry hop are like my hefts. You know, if I do anything, I like to dry hop a lot. I love that dry hop taste. You know, that dry hop flavor and that dry hop aroma. This is kind of my thing right now. In 3 months or 4 months from now, I might go nonstop no dry hopping for like a year. You know, but hey, making your own beer, you get to say, I want some dry hops. Dry hop is just adding hops in the secondary. You're not boiling them. Kind of puts a different flavor profile and odor. And I kept most recipe simple. All I did, this is like custom recipe. So I just took, the hops come in 1 ounce packets. So I took half the packet of Citra, 60-minute boil. Keep it simple. Half ounce of Saws. Yep. 60-minute boil. So I saved the other half ounce from each. Put that in the secondary. Less than 12 hours. Well, about 12 hours. Because what I did is I throw it in my secondary. And then like an hour or two later, I put it outside where at night it gets to be like 35 degrees or so. Let it cool, and those hops kind of start at the top. And as they get wet, they just start to slowly sink, and it gets cold, it slowly sinks, and it's literally like its own like transfer station of the hops to give its delicious flavor throughout the entire beer. All right, this beer head is settled. Not that that would stop me. I think I had a video before where I had like all beer head. But it's looking ready to drink. Cheers. Oh, that's solid. That's good. Tell you what. Oh, my mouth is just watering. That cherry, it's not too overwhelming. It just barely hangs in there. Like you can pick it up, but you almost can't pick it. I bet if I told somebody try this beer and said, what do you taste? They might be able to pick it out, but it doesn't just kick you with cherry. It's not like a plum cherry where it's like a raisiny plum taste. It's still kind of a fresh tart cherry. But the dry hopping with the Citra, those citrus flavors kind of sit on top of that cherry and really kind of pop themselves, and the cherry kind of hangs along. It's pretty good. I like it. I can't remember if I told you earlier in the video though, but I got 10.5% alcohol, so that's why I decided to keg it. It wasn't moving much more, so this has got some kick to it. It'd be interesting to see what this glass does to me on a buzz level. But if you want the recipe, full recipe, you message me. I bore you with enough details. I try to keep it simple. Get some followers or whatever on my little YouTube channel. I'm going to keep it handheld phone like this forever. It's much more personable. This face so nice and close to the phone, giving beer recipes and tastes. Normally I give it a nice little wash around the mouth and a sample. So then I finish it off right here. You can see the tears in my eyes when I go to pound this bad boy. Oh, that's delicious. Absolutely. A little burp came out there while I'm talking. That's how you know you did it right. Delicious. Is there any water in my eyes? Yep. Whew, it's a Boilermaker. I tell you what, there's 10.5% is a good solid beer, man. I think my beard just grew a half an inch after drinking that. All right, well, mom's up, baby's up, kids are anxious. Mom needs her coffee. Dad needs his coffee. Brew on, people. Peace out.